Thank you, Dr. Surendra Kumar. Now, there are two particular questions to Dr. Uma. One is from, I think, Mr. Ananda Padmanabha. The question is, does China's rise pose a threat to the liberal international order? And the second question is from, I think, Mr. Dr. Jayaram. What will be the role of Russia in India-China conflict? Is it good for India to maintain close relationship with Russia, because US is backing India in conflict with China? So, do you think neutrality of NAM still relevant?
Okay, let me address the first question. The question posed by Ananta Padmanabhan first. Does China's rise pose a threat to the liberal international order? But let me put it this way: if you um, look at the liberal international order today, I think it faces more of a threat from the United States than from China today. In the sense that China has benefited from the liberal international order, it has been able to pull out its people from poverty, but the theoretical view that once the Chinese get integrated into the world economy, it will shift towards democracy. It will, Chinese approach towards other countries will get softened. All of that has not happened. The liberal international order really faces at a very structural level is from both the actions of both the Chinese as well as the Americans, because if you look at it, you're actually looking at a systemic transition of power happening between the Americans and the Chinese, and that is never going to be easy. And as each power rises, again, theory would tell you that each power will try to mold the international system in a way where it can promote itself or increase its influence. So in China's case, China has already started with the Belt Road Initiative. It has, of course, the what we call the Beijing Consensus. It has the BRICS Development Bank. It has been pushing for BRICS, and it's also started the Asian Infrastructure A2IB Bank. So in a sense, it is not something which can be, reduced to just whether it is China's rise which is posing a threat to the liberal international order. It is actually both the Americans and the Chinese who are actually now posing a threat to the liberal international order, though the Chinese have benefited from it. If you look at how Trump has reacted after COVID, his statements on the WHO, how he has been threatening the ICC officials, climate change, Paris Agreement, WTO, the US under Trump really doesn't pay too much respect to the WTO. So actually, the very liberal international order which the Americans themselves built is under threat, not only from the Chinese, it is also under threat from the Americans. So that is my answer to your question. The second is Russia's role in the India-China conflict. I think I was pretty clear that the Russians do have a role to play. They might not be very active, issuing statements about what is happening, but they are working behind the scenes. If you remember in Doklam, it was the Russian ambassador in China, who actually came out and said that we will have to support the Indians. So. So let us not discount the importance of the Russians for us. Please remember also that our government is also pretty understanding of the importance that our ties with Russia have, because they've gone to the Russians for weapons, not to the United States. And I don't know where you get this idea that the United States is backing India in a conflict with China, because I have not seen any statements. I've seen some statements which say that we condole the death of the soldiers and all of that, and then there was this statement by Alicia Wells, and this was just before she retired. Remember, the US is in an election year, so you really cannot take everything that they say. I mean, you should take what they say with a pinch of salt. And I think Pakistan's experience with the Americans would tell us very clearly that the Americans are not exactly the best of allies to have. They're not people that you can trust. But I think the Russians have a role to play in India, China, in trying to bring. Because I think they can offer good offices, but I think their approach to the India-China conflict is based on their the history of India-Russia ties, in the sense that they are much more positive towards India. They are much more willing to give us more advanced technology than to the Chinese. They're giving us technology that other countries will not give us, like a nuclear-powered submarine. So I think, well, I hope that kind of answers your question. As for NAM, well, if there is at all a Cold War, which will be very different from the Cold War of that we know of. If at all there is a Cold War between the Chinese and the Americans, and if we decide not to put all our eggs in the American basket, then NAM will have some relevance, because it can become, a kind of neutral organization again between China and the Americans. But then again, do remember that I guess, yeah, NAM will, don't write off NAM for now. Okay, I think that answers your question.